So, I played a lot of Fortnite, and I've gotten pretty good. But there's still one question that I have, and that's when does the battle bus honk? We're going to look at 3 different theories about when this blue beast sounds its horn. Theory number 1, and the most obvious. It simply honks at the start, middle, and end of its route. Theory 2, my own idea, it honks related to the number of people that have jumped out the back. And theory 3, the most common idea online, is the bus honks when it's the optimal time for you to jump, so you can reach your destination quicker than your opponents. Let's get into it. Does a bus just honk at the start, middle, and end of its route? We know that when you're on the island, the bus honks 10 seconds before the start of a match. This happens every game, every time. There's a counter at the top of the screen letting you know how long players have to join your game. When the counter hits 10 seconds, the bus honks. And the counter tells you the bus is launching, you can hear the engine trying to turn over, and once the bus starts, the game begins. Players are riding the bus, but they can't jump out immediately. The counter lets them know when the doors open, so they're able to parachute out. If we listen, there is a honk shortly after those doors open. So from doors open to honk, it was delayed by about 3 seconds. I'm going to count it and say yes, the bus honks at the start. Now, for this specific route, players have 36 seconds to jump, meaning the mid honk should be around the 18-second mark. Okay, that was a little late, but not terribly off. If the theory holds true, we should get one more honk at the end of this route. Okay, we got a honk at the end, but if I'm being honest, I was being very generous with those times. Let's look at another bus route. Okay, we got the honk right at the start when players can jump. This route's 27 seconds, so we should get a second honk at around the 13-second mark. Oh. Alright, that was about 5 seconds early. Okay. Let's see if we get a... Okay. That honk was at the halfway mark, but nowhere near the end of the route. Let's keep watching, maybe we'll get another honk. Okay, that one was about 4 seconds early. This isn't looking good. I'm not sure why that bus honked 4 times instead of just 3. But let's look at one more bus just to make sure we didn't miss anything. This is a 26-second route, but no honk when we started. Oh, that honk was about 7 seconds in. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see if there's a mid honk. Wait, we already passed the midpoint. Maybe there will be one at the end? Okay, just barely a honk right after it kicked us out. But with 2 honks on that route, I'm calling this theory busted. Let's dive into my own personal theory that the bus honks depending on the number of players still on the bus, which of course correlates directly with the number of people that have already jumped. I did my best counting players as they got off the bus, but as you'll see in a moment, it's hard counting so many people. Players jump in groups, gliders can look like players, and it's nearly impossible to get a count of players that get kicked off at the end of the route. But here we go. Feel free to count with me. See how we do. Alright, we're starting off with 97 total players. First honk is about 19 people in, or maybe about 20%. Second honk was in a large group of people, but around person number 45. That's about halfway. Getting close to the end here. And the last honk at 88, which is about 90% of the bus. But I definitely missed some people. Let's take a look at another bus and see what we get. This time, I'm going to switch up my counting method and see if we can't get something more accurate. Okay, first honk was at 7. That's much earlier than before. 88, that's pretty late. Almost done. 84 is early this time. Alright, it's not linked to the number of people left on the bus. Let's scratch off the theory that the bus honks relate directly to the number of players that have jumped. Let's move on to our next theory, and the most popular. The bus honks when it's the optimal time to jump to your waypoint. You can see the bus route here. We're going to aim for a spot towards the start of the route and see if that early honk would in fact be the optimal place for us to jump. Up until this point, we haven't put any markers on the map, so I'm hoping by having a marker, that would indicate that the bus will be honking for us. Maybe the rest of the time it's just been random. Let's take a look. We have our waypoint here. Doors open. And honestly, we get a pretty decent honk if that was the perfect time to jump. Now, we've seen the bus honk early multiple times before, so let's take a look at another route and see if we can't pick something a little bit later and get the optimal honk for that marker. So we start here about 1600 meters from the waypoint, and the bus hasn't honked. This is about where I would jump out, and we get a honk at a good time. Now, this isn't the closest the bus can be to the waypoint, but there's an argument to be made that you should jump before then to land faster than your opponents. Let's take a look at another bus route and see if this holds true. We're going to pick a spot late this time, not on the bus route, but next to it. We know the bus honks early. We know it honks sometime in the middle. Let's see if this will honk perfectly for our late jump. So we got a point about as far and late in the route as we can. Let's see when this bus honks. No honk yet. Alright, so we got a honk about 1200 meters away, but also the bus flies faster than you can glide. So for this point, I would actually jump more closely to straight down than I would glide across the map like it would have suggested. I don't think this one's holding true. Let's look at one more. So I picked another point that's pretty far away from the bus. I feel like making something more extreme demonstrates these points better. We got a honk there in the beginning, but that's not close to our waypoint. We get another honk here in the middle, but we're still clearly getting closer. Now, if I were playing this game, this is about where I would jump out. You can see the numbers are slowing down. We're getting closest to the point about here. Now we're getting further, and there's still no bus honk. Let's take a look at one more example. This time I'm going to bring a friend to the lobby with me. We're going to pick two different waypoints, and I'm just going to see if their bus honks at a different time for them than it does for me. I have the blue waypoint here. They have the pink.
Honk honk.
Her honk was for my waypoint. My honk was a little late. A second honk that isn't really for either of ours.
Honk.
And then hers right before mine there at the end. Through all of these tests, the bus honked anywhere between 1 and 4 times. And if the bus honks 4 times, it's clearly not honking for the optimal time to jump. It feels like players might think that because the bus honks so often. And if you pick a waypoint that's not at an extreme point on the map, then it's likely the bus honking at random could correlate to a good time to jump. And it's hard for a player to know when the optimal time to jump would be, which is why I think so many people believe this theory. Since none of my theories really panned out, I reached out to Epic directly to ask them why the battle bus honks in Fortnite. Big shout out to Danner on the Epic Games player support team for putting up with my nonsense question. I love that they initially emailed me back asking for clarification, because my question was so out there. The response I eventually got from them stated 2 things. 1, the battle bus honks pre-match, which we all know is a signifier the round is about to begin. You can log into Fortnite now and see that it honks 10 seconds before the game begins. They also mentioned that the horn will not sound before you place a marker on the map, which is why they believe it might be a signal to drop. which we saw in this video is not 100% accurate. Finally, they concluded that the horn sounds at random, and I have a really hard time accepting this, which is why I've made this entire video. My search continues to find out when the battle bus sounds its horn. Is it when the bus is over major drop points? Is it after so many players thank the bus driver? Let me know your theories down in the comments and I'll test them out. Why do you think the bus honks? I appreciate all of you watching and enjoy your day.